We're up to the bottom line of Mendalit Amid Beis. So Tanur Rabbanon, the Gemara teaches, today's daf is mostly going to be dealing with Shaimin. Tanur Rabbanon, Shar Shehemis. Now, before we get to Shaimin, we're going to one last little sugya. Shar Shehemis, if an ox kills a person, so the halacha is, we alluded, the Mishnah kind of spoke this out, that whether the animal's asa b'hana depends on what point. Before the verdict, it's not asa b'hana, sorry. Once it's the verdict, it is asa b'hana. So before the verdict, ad shalei nigmar dinai, if before the verdict is given down, machra, you sold it. Machar, it's a valid sale. Yeah, okay. Hikdisha mukdish, if you magdish it, it does work. Now, by the way, they're going to have to kill this animal. So it means it's hegdish until the stoning. So what it means is it's hegdish akdei kach, that people could be over meila. I'm saying the point is it has the halachic status of hegdish until the stoning takes place. Meaning it's not like if you sell it, then it's, well, I mean, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's no longer, you're not going to kill it. But according to the Rabbanan, you'll still kill it. But it's hegdish, meaning it's hegdish k'dei kach, that if someone benefits from it, it'll be meila. Shachtoi b'sarei mutter. If you shechted it, you'd be allowed to eat the meat. Hechziru shomer labeis bailov muchser. Now let's say you're a shomer, right? So you, right, I lent Alicia my ox. It gores and kills someone, and then he hands it back, and he's like, "Thank you." So the halacha is, if you return it before the verdict, fine. Now you might have to pay. I just make this clear. You'll have to pay for the damages that it inflicts, but you don't have to reimburse me for the ox, right? The ox gored onto your watch, so you'll have to pay kaifer, whatever it is. But the question is, do you also have to pay me for an ox? Because if you give me back an Isser Hana ox, what are we doing here? The answer is, if you give it back before the verdict, okay, thank you. That's you at least do not have to replace the ox vis-a-vis me. Mishanigmar dinai, but once it already got the guilty verdict, now it's asabana, asamachar inem acher, you can't sell it anymore. Hekdesha inem mukdash, you can't magdish anymore. Shchadai basir aser, you can't eat it. Hechzir shem lebai lev einem muchser, and you can't return it to the owner anymore. If you return it to the owner, he's going to say, well, it's no longer mine, it's asabana. And therefore you have to replace the ox to the owner. Rav Yaakov Oimer, af mishanigmar dinai, hechzir shem lebai muchser. Rav Yaakov disagrees. He says, no, even Hechzir bailoi shomer lebailov muchser, that Rav Yaakov says you're able to return it even after it's asabahana. Says, by the way, so it's interesting. So it sounds like it's a machlekes amiroyim tanoim. If I could return something that's asabahana, whether it's considered a hachzara. Now this is related to shomrim, but it's also related to gneva, right? You steal something, if you return it, then it's oikar the lav, right? But if you return it, then it's like a lapse. The question is, if I return it and it's asa b'hana now, does that count? So it seems to be a machlekes tanoim. Now, what's interesting about it is, why are they arguing about? They're arguing about this. I have a much more obvious case related to the concept of returning Isser Hana, and that's chametz, right? You steal Cheerios from me, and then you return it on Pesach. It's asa b'hana. So is it considered a return? Seems to be the shaila is related to chametz and Pesach. So the Gemara says, what is the machlekes about? It must be the Rabbanan Savri ein oimer b'isur hana hari shechol fanecha. Rav Yaakov Savri oimer b'isur hana hari shechol fanecha. It must be a machlekes of whether you could return something that is now asa b'hana. It wasn't asa b'hana when you took it under your jurisdiction or you stole it, whatever it is. But now you're returning it as b'hana. Is that considered a return? Seems to be a machlekes. Okay, fair enough. So Gemara says no. Amar Rabba, to kuli alma oimin b'isar narishachol fanechem. No, everyone agrees that I could return something that becomes asa b'hana and it's considered a return if the isar hana happened naturally. Meaning, chametz, right? I steal Cheerios and I return it to you on Pesach. Do I have to replace it, or is it considered a return? Right? So it seems to be a machlekes tanaim. Whereas no. Everyone agrees that you could do that. Everyone agrees that that's considered a return. So what's this machlekes about? Over there it happened on its own. There was no maisa. I didn't create an Isser Hana. Right? It's not like I did it b'yadayim. It happened by chametz and Pesach. It just happens. The machlekes is over here. Is this considered a maisa b'yadayim? How so? There's a machlekes will they do the verdict, the guilty verdict, on the animal if the animal is not present in court? It's a machlokes tanoim. If they'll do the guilty verdict if the animal is not present in court, then it was going to happen regardless. The Isser Hana was going to happen. It's not like the Shomer was involved in creating the Isser Hana. It's going to happen. But if you hold that they only make the guilty verdict if the animal is in court, then by you bringing it to court, it's Ke'ilu your mazik biyadayim. Meaning, when it comes to Chametz and Pesach and the Isser Hana just happens naturally, memela, it's okay, showing it's everyone agrees that you could return it because at the end of the day, the Isser Hana happened memela. But over here, the reason why it's a machlokes is because the machlokes is, can they give a guilty verdict on the animal if the animal's not present in court? If you could, so there's nothing the shomer could do. It's not like you tell the shomer, why'd you bring it to court? You should have hit it. He said, well, hit it anyway. It doesn't matter. They're going to get, the animal's going to be asmar. No. It's like Chametz and Pesach. It's happening. It's a reality. You can't stop that train. But if you hold that they're only doing it, they only give a guilty verdict of death. If you're bringing it to court biyadayim, so by you bringing it to court, that's mazik biyadayim. It's worse than Chametz and Pesach. That's the perception.
Isn't there another even if you don't have to bring it to court, the fact is that the shomer was negligent, right? So
that's regarding his payments for the other person, but the question is returning it to you. That's you have to remember. There's two separate things. I'm not absolving the shomer legamri. The shomer is going to have to pay kaifer. I'm not absolving him legamri. The question is him returning the animal to you, did he at least fulfill the hashlama to return the animal? That's the machlekes. So the Gemara says, huh?
How is that? You're saying everybody holds by the chametz, it's hard to hold for them.
I took the Cheerios, I give it Cheerios.
I understand the chayfetz, but
it's because I'll tell you why, because at the end of the day, the Isser Hana, that's more of a grama. And then it has to do with the shaila of whether you could take me to court for grama. Meaning you're only going to make me pay if it's biyadayim. So the question is returning an Isser Hana, if the item b'chalal is not the same item, then you didn't return the item. If it is the same item, it's not as valuable, then you're getting into grama and garmi situations. That's a whole separate sugya. So the Gemara says, over here the machlokes is, can I give a guilty verdict if the ox is not present? Rabban and Savri ain't going Medina shel shar b'fanav. The Rabbanan feel that they can only give the guilty verdict if the ox is present. In which case, by you bringing the ox, the Amrle, so therefore you could tell the owner can tell the shomer, ihadrina nilei have a miracle gamma. If you would have given it to me, I would have hit it, and they wouldn't have done Isser Hana. The Isser Hana is because of you. But now by handing it over, you deliver it into the people. It's not I don't control. So therefore, Rashi says it's more biyadayim. Rav Yaakov says no. They can give a guilty verdict of the death of the animal, even if the animal's not present, and therefore, Damle the shomer could say to the army, "Soif migma have a gamil dina." They would have done it anyway, so it doesn't matter what I did, and therefore it's more like Chametz and Pesach. It's just happening. Okay. My time of the Rabbanan. What's the Rabbanan shita that they'll only give the guilty verdict if the animal is present in court? Hashar yisakel v'gam bailav yumas. The pasuk says you kill the ox and you kill the owner, which I mentioned yesterday. Killing the owner, by the way, is kaifer. That's the source of kaifer. You don't actually kill the owner, but the lashon is killing, so it's equating capital punishment of the ox to capital punishment of people, and by capital punishment of people, the person has to be in court. You can't give a guilty verdict if the defendant is not in court. And he says, "Kamisas abaylim kach misas ashar ma'baylim b'fneihem shar b'fneim." Rav Yaakov, who disagrees, he says, "Bishloim abaylim b'nei tainaninu." Elashar by Titus, Rav Yaakov says, it's not the same. The reason why the person has to be in court is because the person can defend himself. There's no tachlis of a shar being in court. He can't really help himself. Therefore, he disagrees whether that shar does not have to be present in court. Okay, new sugya, and this is the shomrim. We are now into the world of shomrim. So you have shomer chinam, shomer sacher, noisei sacher, seicher, and a shoyel. Tan Rabbanon arba nichlusu tachas abaylim. 4 shomim are now responsible for the ox. You have a shomer chinam, shoyel, noisei sacher, v'seicher. Hargu, if while the ox was under the shomrim's jurisdiction, it killed a person. So tamim neragin, if it's a tam, they kill the animal. Upturim and akoifer, and there's no koifer because it's a tam. Muadim neragim mishalmas a koifer. So far, so good. Okay. And they have to pay the owner for the ox, assuming they did not return the ox until after the guilty verdict. After the guilty verdict, they kill the ox. So I got to pay the koifer, and then I got to pay for the value of the ox. So far, so good. Chutz m'shomer chinam, except for the shomer chinam. The shomer chinam he'll have to pay koifer, but he does not have to pay for the ox. It's strange. So why is that? That's a very strange thing. So here's the question: what's the case? Right, a shomer chinam is chayev for pshia, right? Okay, shayil is chayev for everything, most things. Soicher and shomer sachar are usually put in the same category, although there are some opinions that question that. But let's assume shomer sachar and a soicher, they're responsible for pshia and gzela vaveda. A little more responsibility. Shomer chinam is only chayev for pshia. So what's this case? The animal's a muad, it kills. I have to pay koifer, and everyone has to pay for the ox except for shomer chinam. Well, what's the case? If the shomer was pesheya, they should all have to pay. If he's not pesheya, then why does the shomer sachar have? What's the case exactly? So the Gemara says, well, hechi dami, ida natre. If the shomer guarded the ox, I feel coming out of it. Listen, if he guarded the ox and his mamish and oinus, then none of them have to pay except for the borrower. The borrower, yes. But I'm saying the point is, then the shomer chino shouldn't have to pay. The shomer sachar shouldn't have to pay. The sachar. I mean, what's the case? It wasn't stolen. It's either pshia or no pshia. Yeah, it's a pshia. They should all have to pay. If it's not a pshia, the only one should have to pay is the borrower. So what exactly is the case? So what's the case where the only one who's potter from reimbursing for the animal is the shomer chinam? Well, what's the case? If it's pshia, they should all be chayiv. If it's not pshia, 3 out of the 4 should be potter. So the Gemara says, Amri, hacha b'mayaskinan dinatre shmira pchusa v'leinatre shmira me'ula. The case is where you did a decent watching, but not a great watching. So you guarded it for like winds, ruach mitsuya, but not ruach shein mitsuya. So you did a baseline watching, but you didn't do a very good watching. So therefore, shomer chinam calls l'shmirase. So for shomer chinam, it's not a pshia. But hanach like calls l'shmirase, but it's not good enough for a shomer sachar, a noisi sachar, a seicher, and a shayah. That's the case. Okay, so this is, by the way, the only part of the daf that's a little bit of a riddle. So what's the case? The case is I did a baseline shmira. Baseline shmira is good for shomer chinam, but it's not good for a seicher, a shomer sachar, and a shayah. Here's the problem. Who is the author of this Mishnah? Here's the problem. And the Amid Beis, we referenced this once before. On Amid Beis, we're going to see in a few moments, if I do a basic shmira, is that good for muad? Rav Meir says no. So therefore, you'd have to pay koifer. Again, we're teaching right now, you did a baseline shmira, so you have to pay koifer, which means it's not good enough for a muad. Okay? But it's still good enough for a shomer chinam, which is interesting, but okay, we're splitting it up. It's good enough from a shomer chinam, it's not a pshia, but I have to pay because it's a muad. Fine. Who is the one who says that a baseline shmira is not good enough for a muad? Rav Meir. So this is Rav Meir. Here's the problem. Rav Meir's shita is that a renter is treated like a shomer chinam. Rav Meir puts a seicher like a shomer chinam. So it can't be Rav Meir, because again, our brisa separates shomer chinam from the rest. So you'll say, but it also says that you did a basic shmira, it separates shomer chinam from the rest, basic shmira, and you have to pay koifer. So that means that basic shmira is not good enough for a muad. That's Rav Meir. Because Rav Yehuda's shita is that a basic shmira is not good enough for a tam, but it's good enough for a muad. It's that counterintuitive thing that a muad needs less of a shmira than a tam. Basic shmira, not good enough for a tam, but good enough for a muad. That's Rav Yehuda's shita, as we'll see in a moment. I mentioned, I did this recently, whenever it was referenced recently, I checked it up. The Meiri says the reason is because once it gets to be a muad, then it's not just my responsibility to, everyone should distance themselves from it. So you're also responsible. Whatever it is. That's Rabbi Yehuda Shita. So the point is like this. Our brisa, which says you did a basic shmira, you still have to pay koifer, which means not good enough for a muad, but shomer chinam is separate from the rest. So the one who says that not good enough for a muad is Rav Meir, but Rav Meir puts a seicher with shomer chinam. Okay, so this can't be it. Maybe it's Rav Yehuda who puts shomer chinam separate from the rest. So the problem is, according to Rav Yehuda, a basic shmira is good enough for a muad. You won't have to pay koifer. So, who is the author? That's the only riddle of the day. So the Gemara says, Amri Kaman. Well, who is the author of this Mishnah, of this Brisa? Ikra Rav Meir. If it's like Rav Meir who says, go to the next page, who says that a basic shmir is not good enough for a muad, and that would explain why you pay koifer. But he says, Seicher keshemer chinam dami. But he says that a Seicher and Shemer chinam are in the same category. So listen, he chutz meshemer chinam v'Seicher. So he should put Seicher with Shemer chinam. So that can't be him. Ikra Rav Yehuda, so you say, okay, it's Rav Yehuda who puts Shemer Chinam separate from the rest, who puts Seicher with Shemer Sacher. By the way, this is a very negeth Rabban Metzia. Seicher either goes with the Shemer Chinam or Shemer Sacher. So Rabbi Yehuda puts Seicher with Shemer Sacher, meaning Shemer Chinam is separate from the rest three. That a Shemer Chinam is the only one that's only chayav for Pshia. The rest are more responsible. The problem is Rabbi Yehuda, who does say that, holds that a basic Shmira is good enough for a Mud. You wouldn't have to pay kaifer. V'i Rabbi Yehuda, they shall be potter from kaifer because a basic Shmira is good enough. So who is the author of our Mishnah? So the Gemara says two explanations. Amar Ravuna Bar Chinina, Hamani Rav Eliezer he Damar Ein Loi Shmira El Asakin. You know what Rav Eliezer shita is? Rav Eliezer shita is that the only shmira is a knife, meaning for a muad, a basic shmira is not good enough. That's Rav Eliezer shita. So according to Rav Eliezer, it makes sense. He holds like Rav Yehuda that separate shemer chinim from the rest. I did a basic shmira. It's not good enough for a muad. Kaifer. So Rav Eliezer shita. So the Gemara says now, yeah. Fine. Now we'll see. This is in a few lines. The Gemara continues. Say it's Rav Eliezer who combines the shitas. Rav Eliezer holds like Rav Meir regarding that basic shmir is not good enough for a muad, but he also holds like Rav Yehuda that a soicher and a shemer sacher are in the same category. Okay. Or a much easier answer. Let's go with Rav Meir. Again, Rav Meir holds a basic shmira is not good enough for a muad, so you would pay kaifer. The problem is Rav Meir puts soicher with shemer chinam. The answer is that's one version of Rav Meir. There's a different version of Rav Meir that holds that shemer chinam is separate from the pack. So the Gemara says, Abaye Amar Loilon Rav Meir, really it's Rav Meir, Ukdemachlef Rabbi Arvua Vatani. Rabbi Arvua switched the shitas around, and this is how he had the version. Soicher Keitzim Mishalim. What category do you put a renter in? Rav Meir Savar Kashemer Sacher. Rav Meir says that it's like a Shemer Sacher. Rav Yehuda Amar Kashemer Chinam. So he flipped the names. So according to him, Rav Meir holds that a Seicher and a Shemer Sacher are in the same category, that a Shemer Chinam is separate from the pack. Okay. By the way, it makes sense because I don't know what to do with a renter either. It's like, why should I be responsible? I'm paying to use your item. I'm not paid to watch it. So it's similar to Shemer Chinam. On the other hand, if you are paying, then maybe you should be a little bit more responsible. I don't know. Anyway, right in the Gemara. Amar Rav Eliezer, Maser Shomer l'Shayne Chinam. I give my ox to Arla, and he's an unpaid watchman. His a chayiv. Then if the ox damaged others, you're responsible. Now we're assuming you're a pesheya. So you're a pesheya, and the ox got loose and damaged others, you have to pay. But huzak potter. But if the ox got hurt, you don't have to pay. Now that's very strange, because again, you're watching the animal. And under your watch, the animal gets out and hurts people, you got to pay. But if another animal gets into your yard and hurts my animal, you don't have to pay. If you were peshe and you accepted responsibility, right? You could always say, listen, you could say the case is where I didn't accept I only accepted responsibility if it damages others, but not if it got hurt. But like, why would that be the case? You can always stipulate whatever you want, but like, why would that be the case? Standard operating procedures, if I give you a shemer chinam, I can do two ways. I can say, hey, can you watch my phone for me? And you're like, I really don't want any responsibility. I'm not going to pay it out. So I'd say, don't worry, if anything happens, it's not on you. I absolve you from everything. Then you'd be potter both directions. If I say standard shemer chinam case, then you're responsible in both directions also if you're a pesheya. So what exactly is the case? So you're only chayiv in one direction. So the Gemara says, Amri, hey chinam, what's the case? Either kabbalah shmiras and zakav, if the shomer accepted the responsibilities of a shemer chinam, then afilu huzak nam l'chayiv, you should be chayiv in both directions. And yeah, by the way, they bring that on the bottom. You don't actually have to verbally accept it. The standard shmira is an acceptance of pshia. So if it's a case of standard shmira, you should be responsible in both directions. And either loy kabbalah shmira zakam, and if it's this random special case where you took it and you said, I am not responsible, and I said, fine, you're absolved completely, then afilu hizak nami pifta, you should be potter in both directions. So the Gemara says, Amarav loylam shekibul of shmira zakam. The case is a standard case of shmira. The case is that when I give you the ox to guard, I say, listen, Arla, you're not paid. Watch my ox. It's an aggressive animal. It's not a muad yet, but he's strong. Be careful. Now, when you hear that, your guard is up, literally and figuratively, to make sure that it doesn't attack others. So by you letting it attack others is a pshia. If others attack it when you're walking, that's not a pshia because you say to yourself, it's so aggressive, shouldn't it be able to handle itself? Meaning you're walking my ox on Main Street. If it goes and hurts others, that's on you because I told you it's aggressive. You got to watch it. The cases where another ox came and beat it up, so you were like, you told me it's aggressive. I thought it could handle itself. It's not a pshia on my part. So the Gemara says, some of the mills you didn't expect for it to get beaten up. Pasha. Okay. Mishnah. Now this Mishnah is referring to the case that we had before, and that is what level of responsibility do you need by a tam and a mud? So, kashu bailav b'meisera. The owner tied up the ox with a rein, v'nol b'fun of karoi, or lock the gate, which are basic shmiras. Now it's not heavy deadbolt, but just a basic lock. V'yotza v'hizik, it gets out and damages. Echatam v'chamur chayiv. Divra Meir. Meir holds that it's chayiv, because Meir holds that a basic shmira is not enough for either. You need a high level shmira to exempt yourself. Okay. Rav Yehuda says, tam chayiv muad potter. A basic shmira is not good enough for a tam, but it's good enough for a muad. Again, very counterintuitive, but the cheshbon is that once it's a muad, then if the animal gets out, other people should distance themselves from the animal. It's hard to know. It's a hard sheet to accept, but
Is there like a cold?
It's like a wild bull. See a wild bull, run away.
yeah, but that's the sheet of the Meiri. That's the way the Meiri explains. Listen, it's a pasuk. It's exeris hakasiv. But if you want to give a svara to it, that's what the Meiri says. Okay.
Does word get out about it?
I guess so. You'd have to say, but the point is, it's still, even if there's word out, once it's running at you,
Yeah.
not. But apparently there is something you're responsible to do. I don't know. Okay, shenemar v'lo yishmerenu bailav, because the pasuk says regarding a muad, you did not guard it, which implies that if you guarded it at a wall, you'd be exempt. And then Rav Eliezer Oimer ein leishmir l'sakin. Rav Eliezer says the only shmira is shechting it, meaning for a muad, basic shmira is not going to be good enough. Okay, now, 1 second. Now, by the way, the difference between Rav Eliezer and Rav Meir is that Rav Meir would say that for a muad, if you did a superior guarding, that would exempt you. Rav Meir's only problem is that you did a basic shmira. If you did a high-level shmira, you'd be exempt. Rav Eliezer says the only shmira is slaughtering it. I don't care what you did. You could put it like Hannibal, like tied up like this. It doesn't matter. That's not good enough. According to Rav Eliezer, that's the distinction between Rav Eliezer and Rav Meir. Okay, my type of Rav Meir. What's the svar of Rav Meir that holds that again a basic shmir is not good enough? Because he says stam shvarim lav b'cheska shimir. The average ox is not normally guarded, meaning the average person does not guard it at all. Okay, the average ox is just stam unguarded. Rachman, I mean, that's a standard case. Like the average person doesn't guard their ox. So the Torah is talking, starting off with no shmira. Rachmana tam nechayiv, and the pasuk says yechayiv for a tam, diboyle shmir pchusa, because you at least need to guard it somewhat. Hadam Rachmana v'lo yishmerenu gabi muad. Then the pasuk says v'lo yishmerenu gabi muad to say din boyle shmir mu'ula. V'yolef negich latam negich lamud. Meaning the pasuk starts off by saying we're assuming it's unguarded at all. The pasuk says you're chayiv by a tam, meaning you got to do something. Basic shmir seems to be enough. But then the pasuk says by a muad. Now that we know there's a basic shmir, the pasuk says by a muad, v'lo yishmerenu, you're still chayiv, which implies basic's not good enough, you got to go superior. And then that we learn out tam from muad. Okay. Rav Yehuda, who holds that there's a distinction between tam and muad, savar stam shavar mecheska shimir. He says no, the average person does a basic shmir for their ox. That's even without the Torah talking. That's basic. Amar Rachman tam nishalim. The pasuk says that tam you have to pay. Which implies that you need more. Meaning standard. The pasuk starts off with a standard shmira. The pasuk says for a tam not good enough, which means tam needs superior. But then the pasuk says by a muad also superior. Why do you have to do that? The answer is it's a riboy aber riboy acham, meaning it's like a double positive which turns into a negative. Like the pasuk already says by a tam you need superior. The fact that the pasuk says by muad you also need superior means it's unnecessary, so it reverts back. So the Gemara says Hadar Rachman leishmer gabi muad v'nave leishmir mu'ula, that by a muad you need a superior guarding. which is unnecessary because you can learn it out from a tam. Have a riboy acher riboy, vein riboy acher miyat elamiyat. So double positives, two positives turns into a negative. So it goes from there back down. Mira kasel shmir meula, v'chitem negichel tam negichel muad. So why not learn out tam from muad? The answer is you can't. The whole point of this is tam was the standard. Hamir Rachmana v'leish merenu l'zev le'lach. The pasuk says you didn't guard the muad, which implies that you had to guard the tam higher level. I thought the pasuk is needed to say a lav, meaning that the pasuk is saying that if it's not watched at all, v'leish merenu, isn't it the pasuk just needed for a standard, not to exclude a tam, just to say that if the animal wasn't guarded, you have to pay. The extra nun vav is to tell you that the shmira of a muad is not the same level as the shmira of a tam. Okay. Then you have Rav Eliezer. Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, he has a new shita, and that is standard shmira works for both, which is a new shita. I don't think we've had that yet, which is a basic shmira works for both. What's the svara? He holds like Rav Yehuda that a basic shmira works, and then he learns that tam from mud. Okay. Okay, I forgot about this last little bit. The last little few lines is a little bit tricky, and that is Rav Yehuda holds that every muad is really still 50% a tam. Meaning, it's interesting. The animal turns into a muad. According to Rav Yehuda, basic shmira is not good enough for a tam, you pay, but muad you're potter. So let's say the animal, you did a basic shmira and it's a muad, and it gores. You come out ahead as muad. You still have to pay 50%. Because the tam is still there. Every muad is 50% tam and 50% muad on top of it. So the shmira, you did a basic shmira and then the animal went nuts. And then damaged. So you'll say, well, I did a basic shmira, I'm potter by a muad. No. You're potter for the muad part. The tam part, you're still chayiv. So you're still chayiv 50% for the tam shmira. Correct. Okay. So you're still going to pay 50%. It's just you're paying the not muad. You're paying the tam shmira. Okay. The Gemara continues like this. Look at Rashi. Rashi will help us this next few lines. Amarav, last line. Muad lekeren yamin, einay muad lekeren small. A muad for the right horn is not a muad for the left horn. Meaning, let's say this animal only gores with its right horn. It just attacks. It's just got a right hook. It can't go left. It just gores with the right horn. Then it's a muad for the right horn. The left horn, it's a tam. Okay. So by the way, so what's the chiddush of that Gemara? The chiddush is that if it gores with the left horn, it's 50. Right horn is 100. The Gemara feels that that's pashut. At this point in the Masechta, we've already done this 43 dafim. To say that part of the animal is a muad, part of the animal tam, it's pashut. The Gemara wants to know, it wants more. The Gemara says, Amri, aliba deman, who is this like? So look at Rashi. Rashi says aliba deman, you say it's a thin Rashi, about 7 lines from the bottom. Koloimar, the Gemara cannot mean literally that the pasuk is telling you. The Gemara is telling you that the right horn is a muad, the left horn is a tam, and what's the chiddush? That if it gores with the left horn, it's 50, and the right horn is 100. It's pashit. Why? We've already had many cases like this where it's a muad for something and not a muad for the other. Didn't we have it where it was like a muad for every interval and like a tax oxen every other ox? Like you see, it gets crazy. The Gemara says, therefore, so what's the chiddush? You know what he's saying? He's saying it's not regarding the payment, because that's pashut. It's regarding shmira, meaning the right horn is a muad, which means the right horn, a basic shmira would work. A left horn, so you'd have within one head of the ox, when it's goring, it would depend on what level shmira you have. And that's a weird thing, because you think like the ox, it's like the same ox. So it's like, well, you did a basic shmira, so then for the right horn, you won't have to pay. The left horn, you will have to pay. That's the chiddush of the Gemara. Okay. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. Aliba deman. Aliba de Rav Meir, Homer echad tam ve'echad muad, shmir mulaboy. But now you're telling me if it's just the chiddush is just for the level of shmir, it can't be Rav Meir, because Rav Meir holds they hold the basic shmir. Basic shmir is not good enough for either. So it can't be that it's referring to Rav Meir. Rather, Aliba de Rav Yehuda. Here's the problem. My area Karen small, Afilu biyamin nami is beitzad tamas v'tzad b'huad. The problem is like this. You're going to tell me it's Rav Yehuda. And what's the chiddush? The Rav Yehuda holds that there's a different level of shmira between a tam and a mud. And what's the chiddush of the Gemara? That within one head of the ox, one side of the head requires a high level shmira, and one side requires a low level shmira. Here's the problem. That's very clever and very interesting. I get it. It's not what you'd expect. But now that you're telling me that every mud is really a tam, you don't need two horns. Within one horn itself, let's say the right horn is a mud, and it gores. So you ask me, does the right horn need a basic shmira or a high level shmira? You know what the answer is? Well, it kind of depends, because a mu'id needs a basic shmira. A tam needs a superior. What is this right horn? It's both. It's a mu'id and it's 50% tam. So half of the horn requires a high level shmira, and half of the horn, I mean not literally half, it means half of the responsibility of the horn needs that. The point is, once you're already telling me that every mu'id is really 50% tam, you don't need this weird case of right horn, left horn. Within one horn itself, it's both a tam and a mu'id. So you're looking for a case where one head of the horn, one head of the ox is half tam, half mu'id. Every horn is half tam, half mu'id. So the Gemara says, you know what the answer is? Amri la'olam Rav Yehuda. Really, it's Rav Yehuda. According to Rav Yehuda, you're telling me that it's half tam, half mu'id. The answer is the author of this brisa, which is Rav, disagrees with Rav Barava. Meaning, Rav Barava is the one who said that every mu'id is 50% tam. Rav disagrees with that. Rav does not believe that that's true. Rav believes that a mu'id is a mu'id and a tam is a tam. And therefore, if you want to tell me this wacky case where one ox can be half tam, half mu'id, you need two different horns. Rav Barava, you don't need two different horns. According to him, every mu'id is 50% tam, so then you could just have one horn. Rav doesn't believe Rav Barava. Lo ilam krav Yehuda, v'lo yisfir later Rav Barava. V'halchi kamer, therefore he has to say, ki agavrin the meshkeches beitzad tam u'mu'edes, avamud l'gamri l'meshkeches beitzad tam is klal. Therefore he has more of a binary, yes or no. Rav Barava can get into this wacky within one horn itself, 50% tam, 50% mud. I'll stop here.
Good.